Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. In order to be able to start this ion exchange method, the first thing we're going to want to do is find the systems control module. I'm showing you this basically because I'm considering this an introductory video. You go down here to the unicorn button, and then we're going to select the submodule that's got the C on it. This is what the systems control module looks like. We need to put our inlet lines in their buffers. We'll put B1 in a high salt buffer and A1 in a low salt buffer. These are at pH 8. The next thing we're going to do is go up to the manual tab, and we're going to select the execute manual instruction, and the window will come up. So normally what we would do is a pump wash to start out with, and we would also want to make sure the pumps are primed, but there's another video I have on this. This is the instruction right here you would issue. So we're going to skip this step. So then after that, you're going to need to connect the column. There are several proper ways to connect the column. For a high trap column, this is my favorite. To start, we're going to turn on the flow rate inside Unicorn to 1 milliminute. And then we're going to go to the flow path radio button. Flow path is right here under pumps and pressures. And then we're going to select the column position, and we're going to select position 1. Now right now there is no column connected to the system. And we're just going to select, for the flow direction, we're going to select downflow. This will cause liquid buffer really to come out of the top of the column valve. We're going to screw the bottom of the column into the top of the column valve. This means the column is going to be in upside down, but that's fine. The column will work either way that you position it. We'll start screwing the bottom of the column as we unscrew the top of the column. This will prevent any air from getting into the column because there's constant flow. Then we'll take the tubing that'll connect the top of the column valve to the bottom of the column valve. You notice the drip right there? I like to make a mess while I attach the column. This helps to prevent any air from getting onto the column. Give me a second just to clean up all the little drips. Okay, now I'm going to grab the sample loop. In the injection valve, I'm going to plug the sample loop into position loop E, and then the top of the loop into position loop F. Once I've done that, I'm going to check all the connections I've made, make sure they're nice and tight. Alright, back in Unicorn now. We're going to bypass the column. We're going to do that by we're going to be in the flow path radio button. We're going to select column position and hit bypass. Then we're going to bump up the flow rate to, I don't know, maybe 10 mils a minute. So we'll just type in 10 mils a minute. Okay, then we're going to go to the injection valve in the flow path and select inject. There we go. Oh, inject. The idea here is to get all of the air out of the sample loop. And we'll let that run for a minute or two. You can see it's running through the sample loop right now. So it's a 5 mil loop. We started at 5.5 mils. We'll just let that run until it gets to 10.5. Okay, I'm going to stop the run now. For the 96 well plate, we have to make sure that the plate and the rack have the A1s line up. So we collect the right fraction into the right position. Then we're going to load the fraction collector itself. We're going to use the 15 mil tubes for the flow through and the 96 well plate for the elution. Close the fraction collector. Finally, we're going to put the sample on the sample loop. Currently, the injection valve is set to manual load, and the syringe is full of more than 5 mils. We're going to push the syringe down until it just gets to barely the end. We're going to leave a little bit of daylight in the syringe. There. It's time to actually start the method. In order to do this, we're going to go to the method navigator, and we're going to go to our training folder, and we're going to select the method that we just wrote. You can right click or you can just double click. So on the left are the 3 setup windows we need to work our way through in the setup protocol. The first one, the fraction collector, registers the racks in the system as they are now. If the system isn't capable of reading which rack is there, there'll be a big X. So we've loaded a 15 mil fraction tube rack and a 96 well plate rack. The 15 mil tube rack is going to collect our flow through, and the 96 well plate is going to collect our elution. So we'll just click next. Here's our variable list, and everything should look familiar from when we went through it writing the method. So for example, we're going to empty the loop with 6 mils right here. So now for the result name and location, we're going to save it to the training folder. Examples. Just select that. Alright, so we're going to call this Capto Q. Okay, there we go. We'll just hit start. And then this window comes up if you're going to log the number of uses for your column. So there's a 2D barcode on some of the columns, and there's also stickers that come with the Avant. We're just going to ignore this because we're not going to log the number of uses with our column. Hit OK, and the method will start running. Great. Let's check how long it will take to run the method. So we're going to go up here to documentation, and we'll select method information and method duration. Okay, it's going to take 24 minutes. So I'm going to turn it off now and come back in 24 minutes and we'll discuss the result. Okay, so here we are in the evaluation module. Evaluation. So in order to open it, we're just going to go open the training folder, then hit examples, and then here's our result file, the Capto Q preset. Just open this. So here's the result, which I think looks pretty good. I'd like to show you a few things. So first of all, we collected 2 flow-through fractions, one during the sample application and then one during the column wash. So this might be a little bit of an inefficiency, but other than that, it's fine. Then we started collecting fractions on the 96 well plate, and I would say that we collected probably our sample. I'm just going to use this baseline range as a marker. So I would say if we wanted to, we could start picking fractions from A5 all the way to about B8, right? Yeah, 2B8. So that's a lot of fractions. It's a pretty wide peak. Okay. So now another thing I'd like to point out to you is this peak over here. This is not a real peak. So what this is the buffer actually coming through the column. It's the turbidity as you mix a low salt solution with a high salt solution. So it's this that's coming off right here down. And the reason this is a little bit delayed is because the UV monitor is a little bit off from the conductivity monitor. So this is a question I would get a lot. That's about it. So a couple ways we could improve this result is if we maybe did a step elution, and we also did peak fractionation. So I would say you can't really do peak fractionation on the flow through, but we could do peak fractionation on the elution. So why don't we try to do that? So let's go to our preset method editor. We'll open up the method editor. Here's our preset Q method. All right, so here's this dialog box again. Just hit OK. And then remember, we're going to go to the phase properties, right? And so the first thing I'm going to do actually is save it as a different method. Save as. So we'll do preset step method. Okay, save. All right, so for the elution, we're going to do a step gradient. And I don't really know what steps to do. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to change this to step. All right, and then we'll just make each length 2 CVs, right? Which probably wouldn't be enough normally, but we'll go to the evaluation. Let's see here. So we'll use this marker. I'm going to set it to conductivity. Okay, and then isn't there a percent? So the funny thing is, because of the column, right, the actual concentration is offset by, 5 mils or 1 CV from the conductivity. So you kind of have to imagine it. You can also do, I think there's a percent conductivity right here. Okay, so let's drag this over. Percent conductivity. See, doing this right on the fly isn't easy. So we'll just go with concentration and just kind of imagine what it looks like a few mil, like 1 CV later. So right here, we're at, what are we at? This isn't a real marker. So can we get the real marker up here? Few data points. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, so right here, we're at 22% or 7.38 millisieverns. We go up to 47. So why don't we start out with, so yeah, we'll go to 20% B. We'll start at 20% B. And then our next step will be on the back side of this peak, but not all the way in the back. Let's say right here, we'll go to 50%. So we'll do 20%, 50%, and then 75. Those are the 3 steps we'll do. Okay, method editor, add segment, 1, 2, 3, 20%, 50%, and 75%. Okay, so we can see the steps there. This is what I want. And now for fractionation, right? Was the other thing we said we wanted to do. So before we were doing a fixed fraction volume, but we could do peak fractionation. So peak fractionation is still a fixed volume. I mean, we're still collecting a volume of 2 mils. It's just that we're collecting it only at a very specific UV, right? So let's go back to the evaluation module and let's see here. So 6.8, why don't we start collecting at 30 milliabsorbance units, and we'll stop collecting at 30 milliabsorbance units. Let's do 50. I think 50 would be better. So peak frac settings. So we're going to change this to 50. 50 milliabsorbance units. Okay. All right. Save this method. All right. So you know what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to do the equilibration so it's much shorter and we can record the whole thing because I've already re-equilibrated a column. Okay. So we'll save. Then we'll just start the new method really quick. So earlier in this video, I just went over it, so we'll just start it real fast. Preset step method. Okay, next. Next. Yeah, we'll just do that. Capto Q. We'll do it for Capto in here. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the microphone and just let it ride. I'm not sure about my setup, so hopefully everything stays live. Start. Hopefully we can watch it together. If you want to, you can just scroll to the end. I'll leave a timestamp somewhere on the screen so you know what to fast forward to. I'm going to stop the run here, just because I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. Most of the salt is out of the column anyways. Save the partial results, end the current run, okay. Alright, let's see if we can view the results here. Evaluation, E. Okay, so here is our Capto Q step method. I'm going to go ahead and open that. Alright, I'm just going to move this baseline adjustment range here a little bit. I would say this looks pretty good. Adjusting the steps on the fly obviously didn't work for us because I was trying to get this peak right here in the second step, so maybe we should have gone with like a 10% conductivity or 10% B or maybe 5% B. Other than that, we didn't collect peaks the entire time, so we stopped collecting around here, which is good. That's about it I have for you today. Thank you very much. If you have any suggestions for tutorial videos, just leave a comment below.